Hi, I'm Maria Thea Harris, or Velo Sews on social media. Welcome back to SewOver50 podcast on Sew Organised Style. Grab a cuppa and relax with us. On Sew Organised Style podcast, I begin today by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the land on which we record this podcast and pay respects to the elders past and present. Thanks for joining us again on SewOver50 podcast on Sew Organised Style. SewOver50 intersects with all communities. We're a community that is so over ageism. Today, Lou of Sewmuchtodesign is on the podcast because she's had an experience where her Instagram account was compromised. We actually have had a podcast last year about managing your account, but this is her real life example. And Lou, thank you for coming on the podcast to share what's happened. You've now dealt with the issue, and I'm so pleased that you're on the podcast to help others who might be facing the same issue on Instagram.
I hope that by sharing my story, it does help others, because it can be a really, really stressful thing that happens. And hopefully I have some strategies to share so that people can feel that they've protected themselves even more.
Do you want me to be direct about the experience that you had?
I'm totally fine to be open about it. I mean, I'm on the other side of it. It's not as emotional, but it was emotional at the time. And I think you have to, as my dad would say, you have to gird your loins. Just try and get through it.
So the experience that you had was that your account was almost compromised?
Yeah. So it was late one evening and I received a message through Instagram from an international student who had lived with us many years ago, and we've stayed in contact. So for me, it was a very safe contact. And I think that was my first lesson. No matter who you're receiving an Instagram message from, if that message says, I'm having trouble with my Instagram account and I need your help, that's the ploy. That's what people try to do. They try and connect with you in some way that makes it personal. And so I connected with her. I didn't even really answer too many of her questions. I just sent a response. And then I went to bed, and I woke up in the morning and, did my thing, grabbed my cup of coffee. It was Saturday, waiting to sit down and go on Instagram and see what everybody's been up to. And I couldn't log in. And I thought, well, that's strange. Why can't I log in? You've been logged out. And then it was this repeated, you've been logged out. So then I started to get really worried, tried my phone, tried my iPad, and I couldn't log in. That's when I said to my husband, something is really wrong, because I could log in to my personal account, which I have, like my family account, I call it. I have my family and sewing account, and I could log into that one. So then I went into Instagram, I restarted Instagram, and I found my personal Instagram, which is just Lou Sheffer, and that's my family Instagram. And I could log into that. Then I clicked add account, and it said that it didn't exist. Then there's a lot of prompting, and you sort of have to just gather yourself. And it would accept the name of my account, SewMuchtodesign, but it wouldn't accept my phone number. And the password also wasn't working. So then I went to there's a prompt that says trouble with this account. So I clicked on that. And then it sort of starts to take you a little bit deeper into what your choices are. It asks, is it a problem with your email or your password? Is there a connection issue? And then there's the choice, do you think you've been hacked? Well, I tried every choice and didn't choose, do you think you've been hacked? Because I actually didn't want to admit to myself that I had been hacked.
Oh, yeah.
So I reached out actually to SewOver50 through my personal account. And I think for me, that was one of the lessons that I can share, that I had this backup account, because I couldn't access any information or communicate in any way through Sewmuchtodesign. I found SewOver50, messaged Judith and Sandy and said, this is what's happening to me. I'm trying to sort it out. Sandy had gotten back to me and said, we thought you'd been hacked because of the strange messages that were coming up in stories. A couple of followers had emailed me and in a really protective way, which I really appreciated. I communicated to Sandy and Judith through my personal account and kept them posted on what I was doing. I was devastated. I realized it was kind of like that feeling we could all connect to when your best friend moves away when you're little, thinking, I've just lost a connection to something that is incredibly important to me. Silver lining is realizing that followers and people who post on Instagram aren't just accounts, but they're people. And that was the most emotional part for me. How would I regain access to people who have become my friends? So after several hours of trying to figure out what to do, I finally chose the selection that Instagram gives you that has your account been hacked. And then once you go into that section, they ask you a few questions. They ask you partway through trying to figure out your password and your phone number, they ask you for backup codes. And I'll come back to that in a minute, because now I have backup codes and I have two-factor authentication, which I thought was attached to both of my accounts, but it was my phone number that was hacked. So I would sign in using my account name and then sign in using my phone number. But when I signed in and it would say two-factor authentication is being sent to you, I realized that the numbers listed weren't mine.
That's terrible.
Oh, and it's a terrible feeling.
Yeah.
So then I had to hand enter my cell number and send myself the verification. But when I entered the code, it wouldn't work. So after going round and round in circles, I selected that I had been hacked. At that point, they ask you a question. Do you have photos on your Instagram feed where you would be recognized? And of course, I said yes. And then it prompts you to do what's called a selfie video. And there I was, sitting at my kitchen counter, no makeup, my hair is in a ponytail, in a house coat, and I'm doing a selfie video for Instagram. And I thought, that's okay, because they're going to see the stress on my face.
Yes.
The selfie video is a full face video, and then you turn your head to the left slowly, and you turn your head to the right slowly. It prompts you to do that. And then you click submit. And then the message you get back right away is that Instagram will connect with you within the next 48 hours. So then it's a waiting game. And it was a long waiting game. It felt like it took forever, but I got up early Monday morning. It took a good 24 to 30 hours. And I got up early on Monday morning and I had an email from Instagram. And if you always look for that sort of infinity symbol that comes with Meta, because Meta is the large conglomerate, I guess you would say, that oversees Instagram and Facebook. So that's always a good symbol to look for. And when you're getting communication, make sure that it says it's from Meta. They sent me a verification code. And so I logged in again and entered the verification code as my password. Then I was able to get in. And I have heard that some people need to try several times to do that. So don't lose faith, just stay focused and stay calm and just take it one step at a time. Once I actually had my account back, that's when I went into settings and I looked at the phone number, and there was a phone number registered from Dallas, Texas. So I deleted that. It was still there even after I had changed my passwords. Then it was also verification and backup. Then I clicked on that under security, and it takes you to a screen that has a list of, I believe there are 6 backup codes, and each code is 7 digits. And they prompt you to take a screenshot so that you always have those backup codes, because I didn't have those for my SewMuchtodesign account. Then I saved that screenshot into the notes on my phone. So I now have that. I know where it is. And what's interesting is the backup codes that you get in your login security for your account, they're actually different backup codes for any Instagram account that you have. So you just keep them separate. Once I had the backup codes, I then went into two-factor authentication and I registered my cell number, got rid of the Dallas, Texas cell number, deleted it. And then I went a little bit further down the screen and it prompts you, it says, would you like to use WhatsApp as another kind of verification? And so WhatsApp, if you're not familiar with it, it's an app that you can talk through Wi-Fi with people anywhere around the world. It also is run by Meta and Instagram, and it's a very safe platform. So I now get my code verification for Instagram and Facebook through WhatsApp. It doesn't go to my phone. And I've since learned that if you use WhatsApp, it comes to you almost immediately. If you use your phone, the verification code doesn't always come through right away. And if you've tried it several times, sometimes you have to wait a day for a verification code and you get caught in this vortex of trying to reopen your account. If you use WhatsApp, they send you a code within 30 seconds. You use that for your verification, and then you can make the changes in your account. So it was a process, and it did feel violating, I'm not going to lie, because you feel like somebody's dug through your purse a little bit. But now I feel like I have backup codes, I have WhatsApp verification, I have cell verification, and I feel that everything is really safe. I know the Bitcoin hack is rampant. Again, I always say if you're really stuck and you don't know what to do, talk to a 20-year-old because they're the best IT help that you can get. And my daughter and her friend actually said, Mom, this happens to our friends all the time. And I said, yeah, but I'm not your friends and I need your help. So they said, just be patient. You'll hear back from Instagram. So that was the message I wanted to share today. Just don't lose hope. You won't lose everything, especially if it just says that you've been logged out. It means that your account still exists somewhere in the Instagram ether. That's a good sign.
That's a great message to give people. If they see that message, that they haven't lost their account, they have to then go down the path that you did and get in contact with Instagram.
Yeah. A couple of helpful hints that I found. I had another girlfriend who also was hacked by Bitcoin, and Bitcoin usually they hack your stories. They don't hack your Instagram feed. So she wanted to connect with me. And so her message to me was, I can see that you've been hacked on Instagram. And she asked me a question that only I would know. And then she said, send me a voice memo so I know it's you. And I did the same for her. You recognize your friends' voices right away. Nobody can pretend to be you. And so that voice memo was also a really good trick that I liked.
Do you have any other hints for people or some general rules that you'd like people to remember when it comes to keeping their Instagram account safe?
I think the WhatsApp verification was the one that I discovered, which is very sound and keeps it very safe. And if you get a message from anyone and it doesn't sound right or feel right, go with your gut. It isn't. And if somebody really needs to get in touch with you, they'll reach out to you again. And you can delete that message because they can re-message you. And then also, I know in speaking with Sandy, when my account was hacked, she asked the hackers who were in my account, what's the name of your challenge? And they couldn't answer her. So Sandy knew that it wasn't me.
That's very clever.
Yeah. I mean, we're all creative thinkers, but in the moment, it's difficult if you haven't thought about it. I would highly suggest go into your Instagram account, go into settings, go into your security and your login, and just look at what you have. And you can click on things and learn about them and then choose whether you're going to do that or not. But in the moment, if you're calm and you're just understanding your account, it's so much easier to process than when you're upset and you think you've lost all of your photos and all of your contacts.
And from listening to cybersecurity podcasts, I know that one of the common things that they do is they try and pressure people and try and isolate them. And then they use that behavior to then compromise that person's either Instagram account, emails, other accounts. So having an understanding of what security you've got changing your password and not linking on to links that people send you that you may or may not be aware of are some good habits to be in.
Yeah, absolutely. And, in speaking with the IT department that's connected with me through work, they did reiterate, even though it feels really personal, it actually isn't. It's not a personal attack on you. It's just hackers who want into an account and they're going to find any way to do that. So right now, the Bitcoin hacking is happening to a lot of people. It's really rampant. So we have to learn how to outsmart them and how to protect ourselves. And I'm sure that as things progress, there will be other ways that they'll try and hack into our accounts. So just sharing with friends and helping one another to always stay one step ahead, I think is all we can do. And really, that's what this community is all about. It's about helping one another in the good and the bad.
Yeah. And, unfortunately, these instances keep happening and they get a bit creative, but it's not personal. They're just trying whoever they can. Yeah. And thankfully, we're part of SewOver50 and we can help each other.
Yeah. There's power in women and power in wisdom. So, and we've got both of them in spades. So I think that we just need to use it.
Exactly. Lou, thank you so much for coming onto the podcast and sharing your experience and some of the helpful hints for people so that they can look after their accounts and their friends online.
Yeah, it's about our community, and it's about, the more we work together, the more we build our community, the stronger we will be, and we can only go forward from there.
Yes. Oh, that's wonderful. Thank you again, Lou.
My pleasure.
Following on from Lou's advice in today's podcast, I encourage you to have a look at the settings in your Instagram account to ensure that your details are actually your contact details. Having great connections with your sewing friends in the SewOver50 community inspires ongoing sewing and, as we've heard, encourages us to keep an eye out for each other. Listeners, make sure you direct message Judith and Sandy on the SewOver50 Instagram account to let them know you want to contribute a guest post for the SewOver50 community. I also hope that you join in with the upcoming SewOver50 live events on Instagram hosted by Bird and Molly. Remember, these engaging conversations are live and can be watched on the SewOver50 account if you miss them on the day. This episode for SewOver50 podcast on Sew Organised Style was produced by me, Maria Theoharis, with permission of Lou, sound by bensound.com. You can subscribe to Sew Organised Style podcast, but with an S, not a Z, on all good podcast apps. Make sure you go back and listen to our free SewOver50 podcast archive. And if you can, consider supporting the production of this podcast on Patreon. We look forward to joining you in your sewing room next time. Stay safe, everyone.